And welcome back. It's Jason Walter here, and here's your latest housing market update. I'm laughing because it took me 5 times to say that. Anyways, I want to go over the National Association of Realtors' latest housing market update for December that was just announced today, which is January 20th. In today's video, I'm going to take a deep dive into what we're seeing right now according to the National Association of Realtors, especially regarding home sales as well as home prices across the nation. And of course, just like my previous videos I made for you guys regarding this monthly update from the National Association of Realtors, I'm going to provide my own analysis regarding trends we're seeing right now because it's pretty shocking. And before we get started, if you guys are looking for a real estate agent referral, whether you're looking to buy or sell a house in virtually any parts of the whole United States, then check out homeandmoney.com/Jason to get started today. And with that said, let's begin today's video. I have so much to share in today's video, and this video takes me hours to make because all the analysis that goes into the making these videos. So if you guys appreciate that, of course, the video, please hit the like button. All right, so here's the report from the National Association of Realtors. Again, just posted on the 20th of January here. The headline reads the following: existing home sales receded 1.5% in December. Another way to look at this, though, based on my own analysis here, is that home sales decreased to the lowest levels since 2010. And more on that here in just a little bit. But according to them, existing home sales retreated for the 11th consecutive month in December, which is absolutely true. So total existing home sales are included in completed transactions for single-family houses, townhomes, condos, as well as co-ops. Those decreased 1.5% from November. So on a month-to-month basis, home sales decreased by only 1.5%. And that decrease to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 4.02 million in December. Also on a year-over-year basis, home sales decreased 34%. So when talking about existing home sales, they decreased 1.5% on a month-to-month basis and declined by 34% from 1 year ago. Again, though, I have a lot to share regarding trends we're seeing right now and some original analysis in today's video here. So here's a table showing home sales over the past 12 months and also going back to 2020 as well. So for 2022 as a whole, there was 5,030,000 existing home sales for the entire year. If you guys recall, I've been saying that my forecast was in the range of 5 to 5.1 million. So at 5.03 million, that came in line with my expectations for the entire year of 2022. Also, this may sound like a lot of houses that sold, 5 million homes that sold, but this is actually the lowest levels since at least 2014. In fact, according to the National Association of Home Builders, this is actually a 17.8% decrease from 2021. In 2021, we had 6.1 million. Now it has decreased to about 5.03 million. And that's a decrease of about 18% on a year-over-year basis here. And like I said, this marks the lowest annual total since 2014. It's also the lowest annual decline since 2008. That decrease of 17.8% is the biggest annual decline since 2008. But for December 2022, there was just over 4 million home sales on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate, 4,020,000 to be exact. And that's a decrease of 1.5% from November and also a decrease of 34% from December 2021, when there was actually just less than 6.1 million. Something that really stood out to me regarding these trends right here is that every single market recorded decreases in home prices on a year-over-year basis by over 28%. The Northeast fell by 28.8%, the Midwest fell by 30%, the South declined by 33%, and the West fell the most by 43.4% compared to December 2021. But wait, there's more, because take a look at this. Here's data I pulled from the National Association of Realtors, which is just these two columns right here that I have shaded. And by the way, the National Association of Realtors gave me your permission to share this with you guys per their email on September 29th of last year. So here's what we're seeing right now regarding the seasonally adjusted annualized rate for home sales. Again, for December, there was just over 4 million home sales on an annualized basis. And based on my own analysis right here, this actually ties for the lowest levels since November 2010, when there also was 4,020,000 home sales. The lowest levels since November 2010, which is absolutely insane. You have to go all the way back. It's actually even lower than the onset pandemic here, when we more or less had stay-at-home orders back in April, which caused a huge decrease of closed home sales in May 2020. So that's really telling me that home buying demand is decreasing big time, at least for December, because we have fewer home sales on an annualized basis this December compared to May of 2020. Anyways, at 4.02 million, you have to go all the way back until until November 2010, when there's also 4.02 million. Also, like the National Association of Realtors mentioned here, this is actually the 11th consecutive decrease in annualized home sales in the nation. I also just want to mention very briefly here is that when we tend to see a huge decrease of closed home sales, that tends to increase housing inventory, which of course puts downward pressure on home prices. So if this continues here, I would expect that housing inventory would be increasing and also home prices to continue decreasing in the near term. Of course, time will tell. I'll definitely keep you posted because this really depends on how many people decide to list their homes for sale. So speaking of housing inventory, total housing inventory, which by the way, for whatever reason, the National Association of Realtors includes pendings plus active listings, or in other words, houses under contract plus houses for sale in their total housing inventory numbers here. But according to them, inventory decreased 13.4% from November, but was up 10.2% from 1 year ago. The unsold inventory sits at a 2.9 month supply at the current sales pace, down from 3.3 months in November, but up from 1.7 months in December 2021. So here's two paragraphs that they actually touch on home prices, and I have so much more to share regarding home price trends that is not even mentioned in this report right here. It says the median existing home sold price for all housing types in December was $366,900, an increase of 2.3% from a year ago, as prices rose in all major regions. The key word here, though, is year over year, though. Actually, they don't even mention that. It's year over year. So when talking about home price changes or home prices increase in all major regions, that's due to home prices increasing on a year over year basis and not on a month to month basis. This also marks 130 consecutive months of year-over-year increases, the longest running streak on record. Again, keywords here, year-over-year, not month-to-month. And their chief economist, Lawrence Yun, stated the following: home prices nationwide are still positive, though mildly. Markets in roughly half of the country are likely to offer potential home buyers discounted prices compared to last year. And that's all they had to say regarding home prices here. But here's what they really should be telling us, though, because have a look at this. The median sold price decreased by 1.5% compared to November. That's going from $372,600 down to $366,900. Also, this is the 6th consecutive month of decreases in the median sold price here in the US. So home prices have been more or less decreasing ever since July of last year, because in June of last year, we reached all-time record highs for home prices at $413,800. That was the median sold price in the US back in June 2022, just less than $414,000. But ever since then, home prices have been more or less decreasing, actually have been decreasing for 6 consecutive months, is what I should say. Also, when looking at home price gains in 2022, when comparing January 2022 to December, home prices actually increased by 3.6%, as you can see right there by my analysis right there. Also, on a year-over-year basis, this is December 2021 compared to December 2022, home prices only increased by 2.3%. They went from $358,800 to $366,900. But wait, there's a lot more I want to share regarding some trends right now, because look at this. Here's the average month-to-month change going back to 2010. This is looking at the average change from November through December each year going back to 2010 and looking at the averages over that time frame. The average during that time frame going back to 2010 is flat, 0%. So on average, going back to at least 2010, the month-to-month change back in December was flat, 0% change compared to November for on average going back to 2010. Whereas this year, it decreased by 1.5%. Here's the month-to-month changes back in 2021. It was a 0.2% increase. Back in 2020, it decreased by 0.5%. 2019, it increased by 1.2%. In 2018, it declined by 1%. 2017 down by 0.3%, and so on and so forth. It went down all the way to 2010, which is right, here's 2011, down by 1.1%. 2010 down by 0.8% on a month-to-month basis in December. Therefore, this decrease of 1.8%, or actually 1.5%, is obviously much greater than the averages going back to at least 2010. But of course, there's more. I want to share how home prices have changed since the peak last year and have a look at that and to see how it compares to historical averages here. So when looking at home prices from June through December last year, June 2022 through December 2022, the last 6 months, home prices decreased by 11.3%. It decreased by 11.3%, as you can see by my formula right there, going from $414,000 more or less down to about $367,000, and that's a decrease of 11.3%. And by the way, based on my report that I made 1 month ago, the change from June through November of 2022 was a 10% decrease. Now it's 11.3% decrease from June through December. In other words, the decreases are getting worse because home prices continue to decrease as well. So because home prices decreased by about 11.3% compared to June of last year, I want to see how that compares to historical averages here. So when looking at the average from June through December each year going back to 2010, the average was a 5% decrease in home prices going back to 2010. Whereas this year, they declined by 11.3%. Therefore, from the decreases from June through December 2022 is twice as bad as the averages going back to 2010. And here's exactly how I calculated that. Here's the average again, 5% decrease going back to 2010. Back in 2021, this is June 2021 through December 2021, that was a 2.2% decrease in the median sold price here in the US. Back in 2020, it actually increased by 5%. It decreased by 3.8% in 2019, down 7% in 2018, and then in 2017, it decreased by 6.4%. 5.9% in 2016, 5.5% in 2015, 6.3% decrease in 2014, and then 2013, it declined by 7.6%. Also in 2012, down by 4.6%, 7.6% in 2011, 7.7% in 2010. Therefore, the average going back to at least 2010 is half as bad as a change we saw last year. One more thing I want to mention regarding home price trends that are not mentioned in the National Association of Realtors report here is that this 11.3% decrease from June through December last year is actually the biggest June through December decline since 2008. Back in 2008, home prices decreased by 18.3% from June through December of 2008. So 11.3% decrease, you have to go all the way back until right here, 2008, in which home prices from June through December decreased 18.3%. So to briefly summarize this right here, not only do we have the lowest readings for home sales going back to November of 2010, we also have the biggest decreases in home prices from June through December going back to 2008. In any case, hope you guys like that additional analysis because that took me hours to make. So let's go ahead and dive right back into the National Association of Realtors report here. So they say days in the market for December was 26 days. This is the median days in the market. It takes approximately 26 days to sell a house in December. up from 24 days in November, and also up from 19 days from December 2021. So what this means is that it takes approximately 7 days longer to sell a house this last December compared to December 2021. They also say here that 57% of houses that sold in December 2022 were on the market for less than a month. Also, first-time home buyers purchased 31% of all home sales in December, up from 28% from 1 month ago, and more or less flat from 1 year ago at 30%. Additionally, all cash sales account for 28% of transactions in December. So approximately 3 of every 10 closed home sales in December came from an all cash buyer not using a loan. That's up from 26% in November and from 23% in December 2021. Individual investors or second home buyers who make up many cash sales purchased 16% of all houses in December, up from 14% last month, but down from 17% in December 2021. Meanwhile, regarding distressed home sales, which of course is defined by foreclosures or short sales, remains more or less non-existent, representing 1% of all home sales in December. I also want to share a few slides with you guys from the National Association of Realtors as well. So here's a look at home sales on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate going back to December of 2018. So here's a look at the fallout in home sales ever since February of 2022, going from about 6.5 million at an annualized rate to just over 4 million in December 2022. Here's also a look at home prices going back also to December 2018, again, based on the median sold price in the US. For December, again, that was just under $367,000. This is actually the lowest levels since approximately February of 2022, when the median sold price was approximately $364,000. So in other words, much of the gains we saw back in 2022 have been virtually wiped out thanks to home prices decreasing ever since the last half of 2022. The lowest levels since approximately February of 2022 based on the home sold price in December. And again, approximately 11.3% decrease ever since the highs we saw back in June, when the median sold price was just under $414,000. One more thing I do want to mention regarding this chart right here is that I do get a lot of comments asking me, are we going to get to 2019's levels, or are we going to get to 2020 levels anytime soon? And the answer is kind of no, unfortunately, because look at this. Back in January 2020, obviously pre-COVID, the median sold price in the US was only $266,000. $266,000. Now it's $366,000. In other words, that's an increase of 37% over the past 3 years. In other words, even though home prices have declined by about 11% since June of last year, we're looking at home prices as of December 2022 compared to January 2020, home prices have still increased by about 38%. Obviously, though, this decrease we saw in the second half of 2022 is a step in the right direction. And actually you can see that when looking at the slide right here, because look at these changes here. These are year-over-year changes in home prices from the past several months here, right? At least going back to 2021 December. So from December 2021 all the way until June 2022, we saw double-digit increases in home prices on a year-over-year basis. Ever since then, though, we've been seeing single-digit increases in home prices. And now when looking at December 2022 compared to 2021, it only increased by 2.3%, getting very close to negative price growth here in the US. Now here's another trend we're seeing right now, because home sales have been tanking big time really ever since June of last year, falling by double digits every single month ever since June of last year, and last month falling by 34%. Obviously, this is so much different compared to the first half of 2022. We actually saw single-digit decreases in home sales on a year-over-year basis. And lastly, here's a look at the percent change in home sales from 12 months ago by price range, because the decrease in home buying demand that we've been seeing across much of the nation is really impacting virtually every single price segment here. In fact, here, look at this, because home sales for over $1 million decreased a whopping 45.2% compared to December 2021. Whereas home sales in the range of $750,000 to $1 million decreased by 38.6%. And in fact, for all these different price segments here, home prices or home sales decreased by over 28%. And with that said, please check out that link below if you guys are looking for a real estate agent referral in your neck of the woods. Also, if you guys got any value in this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Of course, I appreciate you. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.